The last one, as I mentioned, was this perceived data quality issue. So if you have a perceived data quality issue, so that's the, someone's identified a problem, but it hasn't yet been determined what the cause is, that you have a real trust issue here. So it's not any less of an issue than an actual quote unquote data quality problem, right? It causes the same effect and sometimes even worse. Like if you've got an underlying data quality problem with some sort of referential integrity issue that nobody knows about, that doesn't really have too much harm on your system, hopefully. But if you've got known issues that are being reported by people or being identified by people, that is a challenge. And the bigger problem actually is if you've got people who are encountering data quality, perceived data quality problems and suffering in silence with it. So you really want to celebrate when you learn of a data quality problem and create a point of entry, a simple and celebrated and no judging point of entry for people to report data quality problems, things that are stopping them from making decisions. And when those come in, then treat them as a customer service opportunity to resolve that issue. And so then you want to say, like, well, what's the true cause of this issue? And regardless of what the true cause is, it doesn't undermine the importance of it to that person and from a customer service standpoint for resolution. So one is it could be this actual quality issue or there's something is wrong, a database integrity issue or a business logic issue or a mismatch between systems. Or maybe it's an issue with the report or extract that they're looking at, that there's some logic problem with that. Or there's an issue with the glossary definition or logic that, the person actually, that, they're expecting the report to count things or calculate things in a certain way based on a certain logic or definition of something, and the report is doing it differently, and turns out that they're right, so that might need to have a change to that glossary definition. Now the other flip side of that is that it is a user misunderstanding or a training issue, that actually there is nothing wrong with the system or the report, but there is something wrong with that person's understanding and training, right? And so first of all, when you encounter that, because you're thinking of this as a customer service and your goal here is to make sure that they know as much as they can, you can perceive it as actually a problem, as an issue with training, right, instead of an issue with them. And that may be helping them to understand definitional or glossary confusion, or clarifying the context of what they're looking at. Like, oh, this report, if you went to our business glossary discussion that we did last week, and you can see this in the recorded webinars, I talked a lot about the concept of context around glossary definitions. But in context is really important with quality too, because someone might be looking at this and the time context is like, this report is run off of a data system that was updated a week ago instead of today, and that's why it's different. Or scope, meaning that they're looking at something sort of with a narrow kind of selection criteria view instead of a broader view, like maybe they're only looking at active people instead of all people or something like that. Or the agency and domain kind of context is that this particular report is for a particular branch and not for the whole group, or it's based on numbers for some regulatory report, not our internal numbers. Right? Or maybe just a misunderstanding of how that report works, like what it's doing and what the purpose of that report is, which is sort of a documentation problem. So those are sort of, again, the four kind of issues that you've got: your database integrity, business logic, a mismatch between systems, or this sort of perceived issue that might turn out being maybe not a pure data quality thing, but an issue with the report, or an issue with the definition, or a training issue for the person. All of which, though, represent loss of trust and perceived problems of